Betrayal can be an art form. And revenge? I've always been a master of it. I've never slept deeply. Maybe that's what years in the garage do to a person. You learn to listen. The hum of an engine, the subtle shift before something cracks, before it breaks. That night, lying in our oversized, king-sized bed, I realized something had already broken. Sloane's breathing was too perfect, too measured. 4 weeks, she'd come home late, spinning the same polished excuses about client dinners at her PR firm downtown. Lips brushing mine, tasting faintly of expensive wine, and lies. But tonight, she slipped in at 2:30 a.m., carrying a scent that wasn't me. A man's cologne, sharp and foreign, lingering in her hair. My head throbbed, the familiar stress migraine I'd been nursing since her big promotion 6 months ago. I moved silently, like a shadow, to the bathroom. The cabinet brimmed with her little potions, wrinkle serums, night creams, tiny miracles in bottles. But no Tylenol. Then I remembered, she kept one in her purse downstairs. Stay with me till the end, because what I did next wasn't just revenge. It was calculated. And it would change everything she thought she knew about me, forever. If you're new here, subscribe to Dark Infidelity Stories. Every week we uncover the secrets, lies, and silent betrayals hiding behind closed doors. Her designer handbag sat on the marble counter like a shrine to vanity, a $2,000 Hermes she called an investment. I unzipped it, searching past lipsticks, receipts, and the faint scent of arrogance. My fingers brushed something unexpected, a small box wrapped in luxury paper and tied with a silk ribbon. The tag read, "From my darling Sloane, to remember what you've been missing. Love T." Not E for Eli, her husband of 8 years. I should have put it back, pretended I never saw it, walked away. But curiosity isn't just what killed the cat, it's what ends marriages too. Inside was obscene. Nestled in tissue paper was a plaster cast, detailed, anatomically precise. Someone had spent time, money making this. My engineer's brain kicked in, cataloging, professional kit, clean finish, perfect mold. But the note beneath it was worse. "This will remind you of a real man, which you've never had. Can't wait for the mountains. Trent." Trent Wallace. I knew the name, the tech CEO who couldn't go 2 weeks without being splashed across local business headlines. Young, loaded, and apparently so proud of his anatomy that he immortalized it in plaster. I stood there in my boxers, staring at the evidence of my wife's affair, and instead of rage, I felt something far colder, precision. The kitchen lights glinted off my wedding ring. White gold. Simple. The same one Sloane once called too modest when her career took off. Without thinking, I slipped it off and slid it around the base of the plaster cast. It fit perfectly. And I laughed, actually laughed. At 3 in the morning, standing half-dressed in my kitchen, laughing like a madman at the absurdity of it all. Then carefully I rewrapped the box, my ring still in place, and put it back inside her purse. I went upstairs, lay beside her, and waited for morning. Sleep never came. But a plan did. Sloane had a Saturday ritual, breakfast in bed. I used to find it charming back when I thought her quirks were cute instead of narcissistic. She'd sleep until 10, then stretch like a cat and sigh about how starving she was. That morning I made her favorite, Greek yogurt with organic berries, fresh squeezed orange juice, and coffee brewed from beans that cost more than a week's groceries. Everything arranged neatly on the silver tray her mother gave us. Napkin folded. A fresh flower in a vase. And the gift box, placed delicately beside the coffee cup. "Good morning, beautiful," I said as I set the tray on her nightstand. "I found something interesting in your purse last night." Sloane sat up, hair perfectly tousled, the kind of effortless that takes 20 minutes in a mirror. Her eyes darted straight to the box. "Eli, I can explain." "Oh, I'm sure you can," I said lightly. "But first, why don't you open it?" I added a little something. Her hands trembled as she untied the ribbon. The paper rustled. Then she saw it, the plaster cast with my wedding ring snug around it like some sick joke of devotion. Her face drained of color. "Eli, You know," I interrupted, "I've got to hand it to Trent. The man's got style. And access to some top-tier molding equipment." I leaned against the bedpost, casual as if we were discussing weather. But here's what really gets me. My ring fits him perfectly. Makes you wonder about that real man comment, doesn't it? She clutched the sheets to her chest, eyes wide. It's not what you think. Oh, it's exactly what I think, I said, buttoning my shirt. The only thing I don't know is how long it's been going on. But you know what? Don't bother explaining. I've got someone else to talk to. Eli, please, she cried. We can fix this. I paused at the door. You wanted to remember what a real man feels like? Congratulations. You're about to find out what one does when he's done being played for a fool. Her voice followed me down the stairs, but it didn't matter. I was already gone. My lawyer, Mira Chin, was the kind of woman who made powerful men sweat. A shark in a $1,000 suit with eyes sharp enough to cut glass. Her downtown office, all chrome and glass, was designed to intimidate, and today that worked for me. Jesus, Eli, she muttered, staring at the photos I'd taken of the gift box and its contents. She actually kept this? Apparently Trent wanted her to have a souvenir, I said, leaning back in my chair. She smirked. In a no-fault state, adultery doesn't technically sway the divorce. But public perception? Asset leverage? Her pen scratched across a yellow legal pad. Oh, we can absolutely work with this. Tell me about your finances, she added. Joint accounts, I said. But I've been the primary earner. Until recently. Mira's smile turned predatory. Perfect. Then let's make sure she learns exactly what happens when you mistake a quiet man for a weak one. The apartment's in both our names, but the down payment? That came from my business account long before we even talked about marriage. Solid business assets. Hammond Restoration, mine, established 3 years before we met. Classic cars, antique safes, specialty metalwork. Was thriving. More profitable than her PR career, until that promotion. Mira scribbled notes without looking up. We'll need documentation. Everything, bank records, credit cards, receipts, evidence of her spending on this affair. I slid a flash drive across her desk. Already on it. My friend Randy had helped me recover some deleted files from Sloane's laptop. Turns out she'd been meticulous, capturing this relationship in excruciating detail. Randy Kowalski? The tech guy who handles security systems. Mira asked. The one. I raised an eyebrow. And apparently, Sloane never changed her cloud backup password, not since our anniversary. Not very security conscious, for someone sneaking around. Mira plugged in the drive. Her brows climbed higher with each scroll. Photos. Explicit, time-stamped. 4 months worth. Hotel receipts, all on our joint credit card. The Ritz. Of course. Trent Wallace's tastes were expensive. She leaned back in her chair, grinning like a predator. Eli, are you looking for a quiet, clean divorce, or do you want to make a statement? I thought about Sloane this morning. The shock. The fear. The instant shift into manipulation mode. 8 years of marriage and her first instinct was to lie. What kind of statement? I asked. The kind that hits the society pages. The kind that sends Trent Wallace's tech empire stock into a roller coaster. The kind that makes your cheating wife infamous. I gazed out the office window. Somewhere below, Sloane was probably on the phone with Trent. Damage control, panic, plotting. They thought they were clever. Time to show them just how wrong they were. The process server was a retired cop named Murphy, granite-faced, solid as a brick wall. Mira had specifically requested him. Maximum impact? He asked during our briefing. Yes, I said. I deliver the papers at her office in front of her colleagues, with a little extra. The extra was a poster-sized blow-up of the plaster cast. My wedding ring in place, mounted on foam core, captioned, "Enjoy the real thing, Sloane. Divorce papers enclosed." Monday, 2:30 p.m. sharp, Murphy called. Package delivered. Whole office got quite a show. I was supposedly in the workshop rebuilding a '67 Mustang engine. Truth? I was just waiting for that call. How'd she take it? I asked. Like a deer in headlights, Murphy chuckled. Tried to grab the poster, but it was already on display in the lobby. Security cameras got everything. Colleagues? Let's just say the water cooler will be very busy this week. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Sloan. Eli, what the hell are you doing? Getting divorced, I said evenly. You humiliated me in front of my entire office. The evidence is there, Sloan. Your affair with Trent Wallace, tech mogul, amateur sculptor. You can't pretend this didn't happen. Pause. Then her voice dropped to the manipulative tone I'd learned to despise. Eli, honey, we can work this out. Was a mistake. One moment of weakness. 4 months of weakness? I interrupted. That's not weakness. That's a lifestyle choice. Adults don't commission plaster casts of their genitals, Sloan. Adults don't cheat on their spouses and keep a trophy collection. I hung up. Went back to the Mustang. The engine was seized solid, hadn't run in decades. But with patience, proper tools, and determination, even the most broken things could be rebuilt. Some things, though, were better off scrapped. Rees Electronics looked like any struggling small business from the outside. Narrow storefront, sandwiched between a dry cleaner and a Chinese restaurant. Step inside, though, and it was a high-tech command center that could make the NSA jealous. What's the plan? Randy asked, fingers flying over multiple keyboards, pulling up surveillance feeds on his wall of monitors. Built like a scarecrow, all angles and energy. I want to know everything about Trent Wallace. Where he goes. Who he sees. What makes him tick. Randy's screens filled with data. Age 34. CEO of Nexus Technologies. Public company worth $50 million on paper. Lives in the Meridian Tower penthouse. Tesla Model S Plaid. Weakness for high-end restaurants and married women. Plural. Not his first rodeo. At least 2 affairs in the past 3 years, all blonde, all successful, all married. I studied the photos Randy pulled up. Trent looked like Central Casting's version of a tech CEO. Perfectly coiffed hair, designer casual wear, confident smile, the kind that screams, I never hear no. What about security? I asked. He drives himself mostly. But he has Mikhail Petrov, ex-military, driver, bodyguard, fixer. Fixer? I raised an eyebrow. Problems disappear. Not violent, but connections in interesting places. Randy pulled up more files. Daily routine, favorite haunts, business associates. Trent lived life like an open book, certain that wealth and status made him untouchable. Then Randy stopped, a chill crossing his face. Something else. Your wife's not just having an affair. She's planning an exit strategy. I leaned closer. On the screen, new bank accounts in her name. Credit cards I'd never seen. Documents, applications, proof that Sloan was preparing her next move. My blood ran cold. An apartment lease application for a downtown unit. Small money transfers, Randy continued, subtle enough to avoid triggering alerts, but they added up. About $15,000 over 2 months. Our money. From the joint accounts we both had access to. I sank back into the spare chair at Rees, absorbing this second layer of betrayal. It wasn't just an affair. This was premeditated, a deliberate dismantling of the life we built together. Randy, I need you to do something for me, I said quietly. Something that might skirt the edges of the law. He grinned. Those are always the most fun assignments. Meridian Tower's parking garage was a cathedral to excess. Teslas, BMWs, Mercedes, cars worth more than most people's homes. Trent's Model S Plaid gleamed under the fluorescent lights, parked in a reserved spot near the elevator like a black mirror reflecting his ego. I'd been waiting 20 minutes when he finally appeared, phone in hand. Up close, he was smaller than expected, maybe 5 feet 8 inches in designer shoes, a man projecting authority through wealth, not presence. Trent Wallace looked up, startled. Do I know you? Eli Hammond. Sloan's husband. His expression shifted rapidly, surprise, calculation, then a smug smile that made me want to crush it. Ah, the mechanic. Restoration guy, he said, voice dripping condescension. Actually, I fix broken things. Sometimes permanently. I stepped closer as his hand reached for his phone, probably to call his fixer. I wouldn't. This is just a conversation between gentlemen. What do you want? I want to understand something. I traced a finger along the Model S plaid. See, I found your little gift to my wife. The plaster cast. Very thoughtful. Shows you put real effort into your hobbies. Confidence flickered in his eyes. Look, whatever Sloane told you, she didn't tell me anything she didn't have to. You documented everything beautifully. Photos, receipts, love notes. Thorough work. I pulled out my phone, showing him a picture Randy had recovered. Sloane in a hotel room, lingerie I'd never seen. Composition, lighting, all professionally staged. You should consider photography if tech doesn't pan out. What do you want? He repeated. The edge in his voice was gone. You need to understand consequences. I circled his car, running a finger along the pristine paint. Beautiful machine. Carbon fiber. Ceramic brakes. 0 to 60 under 2 seconds. Likely more than I earn in a year. Don't touch the car, he warned. Relax, I said. Just appreciating craftsmanship. Which is why I'm curious about your plaster casting skills. Professional grade. Where'd you learn that? His face flushed. You're insane. Maybe. But I'm excellent at my job. And my job is fixing things that are broken. Sometimes restoration. Sometimes complete replacement. I pulled a small plastic bag from my pocket. Metal shavings inside. Aluminum filings from a Tesla body panel. Amazing what a few strategic scratches can do to value. Of course, that would be vandalism, and I'm law-abiding. Are you threatening me? No, I said calm. Just educating you on consequences. What happens when you interfere with things that aren't yours? The elevator dinged. A man stepped out exactly as Randy described. Linebacker build, scars speaking of past violence. Problem, Mr. Wallace? He growled. No problem, I said, stepping past him toward the stairwell. Just discussing hobbies, plaster casting, automotive restoration, that sort of thing. The man's eyes narrowed, but I was already gone. Nice meeting you, Trent. Give my regards to Sloane. 3 days later, the divorce papers hit Trent, indirectly. Not as a defendant, but as a subpoena for documents detailing gifts and financial support to Mrs. Hammond during her affair. Mira had crafted it perfectly, fully legal, devastatingly humiliating, designed to drag Nexus Technologies into the public eye. His lawyers are already calling, she reported during our morning meeting. They want to settle. What kind of settlement? I asked. The kind with a lot of zeros, she said. Apparently, Mr. Wallace values his privacy. I sipped coffee, watching the city hum below. Small battles, massive stakes. And Sloane? I asked. She hired Davidson Klein and Associates, Mira said. Expensive, which is interesting, since she's supposedly broke. My guess? Trent's footing the bill. They're coordinating, which means they're worried. My phone buzzed. Randy, check the news. I opened the local business journal. Headline, Nexus Technologies stock drops amid CEO scandal rumors. A smile tugged at my lips. Word was getting out. Social media, Mira said, nodding. Amazing how fast rumors spread with photographic evidence. You didn't post it? Of course not. That would be unethical, I said. But I can't control what my paralegal does in her spare time on personal accounts. I had to admire Mira's style. Legal, deniable, maximized for impact. My phone rang. Sloane. Eli, stop this. Trent's company, you're destroying it. That's unfortunate, I said calm. Maybe he should have thought about that before collecting wives like trophies. This isn't just about him. Employees, investors, innocent people. Just like I was innocent when I found another man's anatomy in my wife's purse? No, it's different. No. Actions have consequences. You and Trent made choices. Now live with them. If you ever loved me, past tense. That ended the day you treated your affair like a high school project. I hung up, turned to Mira. Next move? Her smile was sharp as a knife. We go public. Press conference on the courthouse steps. Skyline behind us. Local news, business reporters, bloggers. Mira orchestrated it brilliantly. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, my client Eli Hammond, is addressing malicious rumors and character attacks from certain parties who shall remain nameless. I stepped up, suit pressed, expression calm, the quiet power of holding all the cards. 3 weeks ago, I discovered my wife of 8 years was having an affair. The discovery came in the form of a unique gift, a plaster cast of her lover's anatomy, complete with a note telling me I was not a real man. Cameras clicked, reporters murmured. Perfect. I could have handled it quietly. Divorce. Asset split. Move on. But why settle for quiet when truth had a mic, a lens, and a city watching? It started looking less like a secret and more like a plan. An apartment lease application for a downtown unit. Small transfers, Randy said, tiny enough to slip under the radar but consistent. About $15,000 in 2 months. Our money siphoned from the joint accounts we both could access. Sinking back into Ree's spare chair, the betrayal layered over itself. It was never just sex. This was premeditated abandonment, financial maneuvering to cut me out of the life we'd built. Randy, I need something, I told him. Something that might bend rules. He smirked. Those are always the fun jobs. Meridian Tower's garage felt like a temple built for the worship of money. Rows of Teslas, BMWs, Mercedes, machines worth more than many people's houses. Trent's Model S Plaid sat in its reserved spot like a black jewel, gleaming under the fluorescence. I'd been waiting 20 minutes when he finally appeared, phone in hand, the picture of casual privilege. Up close, he was smaller than his headlines made him seem, maybe 5'8" in those expensive shoes, a man who projected power through status rather than presence. He glanced up, puzzled. Do I know you? He asked. Eli Hammond. Sloane's husband. Shock flickered across his face, then quick calculation, then a smugness that made my jaw tighten. Ah, the mechanic. Restoration specialist. Fixer of broken things, I said. Sometimes they stay fixed. Other times you need replacement. His hand went for his phone, probably to call Mikhail, and I stepped forward. Don't. Let's talk like men. He asked, too eager for performance. What do you want? I ran a finger along the Model S's flawless paint. Beautiful machine. Carbon fiber, ceramic brakes, the kind of car that gets you headlines. I found your gift to my wife, I said. Very thoughtful. A plaster cast. Quite the hobby. His confidence wobbled. Whatever Sloane told you, he started. She documented it. I cut in, holding up my phone. The recovered photos scrolled across the screen. Sloane staged in a hotel room, lingerie I'd never seen, professional lighting, careful composition. Nice framing. You should try photography if tech ever bores you. He repeated the question, voice clipped. What do you want? You need to understand consequences. I circled the car, my fingers trailing the cool metal. You picked the wrong marriage to wreck. Most men file papers, split things, shuffle on. I'm not most men. I pulled a tiny zip bag from my pocket. Aluminum filings glinted inside, shavings from a Tesla body panel. A few well-placed scratches and that resale value plummets. Vandalism, of course. And I'm law-abiding. I let the last words hang. Consider this an education. The elevator dinged. A big man stepped out, exactly the kind Randy described, ex-military, heavy-set, with scars like punctuation. He looked at Trent, then at me. Problem, Mr. Wallace? He asked low. No problem, I said, already moving toward the stairwell. Just talking about hobbies. Plaster casting, auto restoration. Fascinating stuff. Mill's eyes narrowed, but I was gone. Nice meeting you, Trent. Say hi to Sloane. 3 days later, the legal paper trail landed at Nexus, not naming Trent directly, but subpoenaing documents about gifts, payments, and support given to Mrs. Hammond during the alleged affair. Mira had written it with surgical precision. Lawful, humiliating, and engineered to pull a public company into a spotlight it didn't want. His lawyers are calling, Mira reported. They want to settle. How much? I asked. The kind with a lot of zeros, she said. Apparently privacy is expensive. I watched the city below her office window while she spoke. Small moves in conference rooms can ripple out like earthquakes. What about Sloane? I asked. She's retained Davidson Klein, high-end. My guess? Trent's paying. Means they're coordinating. Means they're worried. My phone buzzed. Randy. Check the news. Headline: Nexus Technology stock drops amid CEO scandal rumors. A grin slipped across my face. Mira smiled, satisfied. Social media does the work for you when the receipts exist. You didn't post it? I said. Of course not, she answered. That would be unseemly. Then she added, with thin lips, but I don't control a paralegal with a spare hour and a personal account. Her methods were clean, deniable, and ruthlessly effective. Sloan called. Eli, stop this. You're destroying a company. That's unfortunate, I said, calm. Maybe he should have thought about that before he started collecting wives like trophies. This isn't just about him. People will get hurt. Like I was hurt when I found another man's anatomy in my wife's purse? I asked. You're being cruel. Actions have consequences. You and Trent chose this. I hung up. What's next? I asked Mira. We go public, she said, blade sharp. The press conference was Mira's masterpiece. Courthouse steps, skyline behind us, reporters and bloggers, and the local news that eats scandal for breakfast. She opened, cool and controlled. Ladies and gentlemen, my client Eli Hammond is here to address malicious rumors and the character attacks directed at him by certain parties who shall remain nameless. I stepped to the microphone, suit pressed, face empty of theatrics, the dangerous calm of someone who knows he holds the cards. 3 weeks ago I discovered my wife of 8 years was having an affair. The discovery came in the form of an unusual gift, a plaster cast of her lover's anatomy, with a note stating I was not a real man. The microphones clicked. The reporters leaned in. Perfect. I could have handled it quietly, file, split, move on. But truth on a podium with cameras is louder than whispered settlements. I let the evidence do the talking. Bank statements, hotel receipts, photographs, all obtained through discovery, all filed correctly. I spoke plainly. When a man uses corporate cards to fund extramarital hotel rooms, when company resources are used to pursue married women, shareholders and partners deserve to know the risk. When someone asked about the plaster cast, I smiled. I donated it to the Museum of Broken Relationships in Los Angeles, I said, along with my wedding ring. It fits perfectly. It's an artifact of contemporary infidelity. The press laughed, exactly the reaction I wanted. Coverage went viral. Nexus stock slid. Social feeds exploded. Mira asked, think we made our point? Just getting started, I told her. 48 hours later they came to bargain. Trent's team, Sloan's lawyers, a phalanx of corporate counsel, all crowded into Mira's conference room like desperate sailors on a listing ship. The number on the offer made me blink. 8 figures. Enough to buy a small country. The lead attorney, carved from ice, promised a sizable payout in exchange for a retraction, confidentiality, and the return of all images. I pretended to consider it while Mira riffled through the papers. The silence stretched. Finally I said, it's generous, but it's missing one thing. An apology? The attorney guessed. I don't want his money, I said. I want him to stand up, face the cameras, and apologize to everyone he's dragged into this. Trent's attorney scoffed. Then we walk. Sloan's lawyer surprised me. My client will waive claims to marital assets for discretion. He meant to bargain my silence for her escape. I looked at him like he'd asked me to sell my mother. Your client already waived her claim the day she decided to treat adultery like an art project. She'll get only what a judge thinks appropriate, and that won't be generous. We left them in that room, probably calling lawyers, panicking. They'll try other approaches, Mira warned. Let them, I said. We've got more. Randy arrived Thursday morning with a grin that said he'd won a heist. He spread photos across my workshop table like cards on a poker night. Different women, different hotels, the same predatory playbook. 7 women documented over 3 years, all married, all targeted through business contacts, all later discarded. Mail's been busy too, Randy said. Fixers not just sweeping romantic trouble under rugs. Tax issues, regulatory headaches, HR complaints that vanished. He keeps records and he wasn't careful. The evidence was nuclear. Financial records, photos, messages, details that could turn Trent Wallace from tech wunderkind into a cautionary headline about abuse of power. I gathered the files, feeling that old mechanic's logic. Sometimes the threat is more potent than the blow. Set up a meeting, I told Randy. Trent and me. Public place. Good acoustics. You sure? He asked. Yes. It was time to finish this. Time to end it on my terms. The meeting was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon at Riverside Park, by the fountain where families tossed breadcrumbs to ducks. Neutral ground. Public space. Plenty of witnesses. Trent arrived first, looking worn down, haggard, frazzled. The past few weeks had left their mark. His stock price was still plummeting. Business partners were asking uncomfortable questions. The tech press was circling, vultures scenting blood. Mail flanked him, alert, ready, but constrained by the crowd in open space. Mr. Hammond, Trent said as I approached. I hope you're ready to be reasonable. I'm always reasonable, I said. The real question is whether you're ready to be honest. I lowered myself onto a bench across from them, calm, collected. A jogger passed by. A young mother pushed her stroller. Life went on, normal, oblivious to the storm about to unfold. I know about the others, I said quietly. Trent paled. The others? Jennifer Morrison, marketing exec from Portland. Sarah Chin, architect from Seattle. Lisa Rodriguez, lawyer from Phoenix. Should I keep going? Mail shifted, hand brushing toward his jacket. I raised a finger. I wouldn't. This conversation is being recorded. You're bluffing, Trent snapped. I pulled out my phone, played a short audio clip. His voice, clear as day, talking about his collection of married conquests with someone I assumed was male. 7 women, Trent. 7 marriages ruined because you get off on taking what doesn't belong to you. My wife was just another trophy. What do you want? He asked, voice tight. I want you gone, I said. Resign from Nexus. Sell your stock. Leave the city. Take your fixer with you. That's insane. I built that company. You built it on lies and manipulation, I said. Now it's time to pay the bill. Mail spoke for the first time. You're making a mistake, Mr. Hammond. The only mistake I made, I said, standing and brushing imaginary dust from my jacket, was not acting sooner. But I learned fast. You have 24 hours, I continued, voice low and deliberate, to announce your resignation. After that, everything goes public. Affairs, cover-ups, the full pattern of predatory behavior. Your choice. Refuse and you'll see what a real man does when he's done being reasonable. I walked away, leaving them by the fountain. A choice, a consequence, clear as day. By Monday morning, Trent Wallace's resignation hit the press. Officially, pursuing personal opportunities. Investors and journalists read between the lines. Nexus stock stabilized, then began climbing again. Toxic leadership removed, the company could breathe. Sloane's divorce accelerated immediately. Without Trent footing the bills, her legal team evaporated. She settled with just enough to start fresh, somewhere far from the city and her public shame. I kept the apartment, the cat, my dignity. More importantly, I kept justice, pure, satisfying, absolute. The final confrontation came a Tuesday evening. Sloane appeared at my door. 32 years old, but aged by humiliation and financial ruin. Lines carved by stress and fear circled her eyes, immune to creams or serums. Can I come in? She asked. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, Eli. 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She entered what had once been our living room, a ghost in a former life. I want to apologize, she said. For everything. The affair, the lies, the money I took. Apology noted, I said. That was all. That was everything she had to offer. I looked at the woman I had once loved, once planned a future with, the one I'd thought I'd grow old beside. Anger had drained away, replaced by something colder, a finality that could not be undone. What did you expect, Sloane? Forgiveness? Reconciliation? Tears? I expected something human, I said. You lost the right to my humanity the day you documented your betrayal like a teenage diary, the day you planned to steal our money and vanish, the day you brought another man's anatomy into our home. She flinched. It was a mistake, she whispered. No. It was a choice, I corrected. A series of choices made deliberately, knowingly, with full awareness of the consequences. You gambled I would be weak, passive, not a real man, and you were wrong. I proved that actions have consequences. Betrayal has a price. And some things once broken can never be fixed. She lingered a moment longer, maybe hoping for a crack in my resolve, a glimpse of the man who once brought her breakfast in bed, overlooked her selfishness. Goodbye, Eli. Goodbye, Sloan. She left and I never saw her again. Justice finally served. 6 months later, I was back in my workshop, elbow deep in a 1969 Camaro engine that had sat untouched in a barn for 30 years. Methodical, satisfying work, taking broken pieces and making them whole again. Randy stopped by, coffee in hand, with the latest gossip. Heard from Mira? I asked. She sent a Christmas card, he said. Business booming. Turns out there are plenty of people who want justice, not just a legal resolution. And Trent? Moved to Silicon Valley. New company. Investors are watching him like hawks. Short leash, high oversight. He's cautious now. I torqued a bolt. The satisfying click echoed through the quiet workshop. Some people learn. Others just get better at hiding. What about you? Randy asked. Any regrets? I wiped grease from my hands. You know the difference between restoration and revenge? What's that? Restoration brings something back to what it used to be. Revenge makes sure some things stay broken. I looked around at my tools, my projects, my work. Honest work. This was my life now. Simpler. Cleaner. Free of lies, manipulation, and half-baked surprises. No regrets. The Camaro engine roared to life on the first turn, purring like a satisfied cat. Justice, like engine restoration, required patience, precision, and the right tools. But when everything aligned, when it worked as it should, the result was perfect. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Hammond, I found your contact through a friend. My husband is cheating. I need help. Are you available? I smiled and typed back. Do you want to meet? After all, everyone deserves justice. And I had become very, very good at delivering it. If you love this story, make sure to subscribe to Dark Infidelity Stories, where every betrayal meets reckoning, and every confession carries a lesson. Don't forget to like, share, and comment below, because sometimes the darkest stories show us how justice, patience, and truth always find a way.